30 years ago, what was the richest country in Latin America? Venezuela. What happened to make the richest country in Latin America on a per capita GDP basis the poorest country in Latin America? Basically socialism, not just the oil industry. They took over the entire supply chain of food. They collectivized farming. They did a bunch of things. They basically embraced statism, socialism, fascism, however you want to call it. They embraced it. State control of the means of production in one form or another. Went from the richest country in Latin America to the poorest. Who was the poorest country in Latin America 30 years ago? Poorer than Nicaragua 30 years ago, 30, 40 years ago. Chile. Who's the richest country in Latin America today? Chile. Why? How did they go from poorest to richest? They did exactly the opposite of what Venezuela did. They embraced capitalism. Elements of it, not as pure as I would like, not as free as I would want, but even a little bit of capitalism goes a long way. They privatized, they deregulated, they lowered taxes, they took all those companies that owned the natural resources and privatized them, and Chilean economy went like that. So Chile, here's a country, Chile, who's become the richest country in Latin America because they embraced elements of capitalism. Venezuela became the poorest country in Latin America because they embraced socialist principles. What do you think the people of Latin America want? Capitalism or socialism? Do they want to be rich or do they want to be poor? Well, by every indication, they want to be poor. Because in the last round of voting, with the exception of Argentina, every single country in Latin America voted for socialists. Now that's head-scratching and weird and bizarre. How can that be? People don't really want to be poor, and yet somehow they can't bring themselves to vote for capitalism. Even in Chile, where they've first-handedly experienced this, the last presidential vote, I think it's 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago, they voted in a socialist to undo all the things that made them rich so they could become poor again. Of course, that's not how they think about it, but that's the consequence. So we have to ask ourselves, what is the appeal of socialism? And what is it about capitalism that so repels us? It's not whether it works or not. People pretend it is. I mean, Paul Krugman pretends capitalism doesn't work. He knows better. Almost all economists do. But why pretend? Why not just advocate for the thing that makes us rich? You'd think that would be straightforward and simple. American economic growth rates have declined systematically as we become more statist, as we become more interventionist, as we have moved away from capitalism. That happens, again, in every country you can see out there. The fact that capitalism works and it's a huge success should be obvious. So why do we hate capitalism? And what is it about socialism we love? What is capitalism about? That wasn't really a question. I'll ask real questions, but I also ask real ones. What's capitalism about? This is a real question. What is capitalism about? Like, what do we do in capitalism? How do people act in capitalism? For example, like what are markets about? When Steve Jobs builds the iPhone, right? Why does he do it? What's he doing it for? Who's he doing it for? Why does Apple sell iPhones? To make money. So first, to make money. And that was pretty quick. Usually I get like 10 responses before somebody everybody's thinking it, but nobody has the guts to say make money. Because to say make money, it's a little embarrassing. And this goes to the heart of the problem. Right? Apple makes this to make money. Now, is it only about money? Right? Steve Jobs, who created the iPhone, right? Did he do it just for the money? Was it just about money? What else? Why did he do it? Really? He really cared about me? He wanted to make me better? I doubt it. He never asked me what I wanted. Did Apple run any customer surveys? Did it ask the customers what they wanted? No. They didn't care. Why did Steve Jobs build this? What's that? Yeah, to get ahead of competition, but then it's just about the money again, right? Why do you want to get ahead of competition? To make more money. But there's something else. Right? Steve Jobs didn't wake up every morning and say, I want to make a lot of money. That's not what motivated him. What motivated him? Need? Nobody needed iPhones. Right? That's a fallacy in economics. You don't need iPhones until Steve Jobs teaches you that you need an iPhone. Like Henry Ford, I was just at the Henry Ford School in Detroit, gave a talk there. Ford once said, if I had asked my customers what they want, they would have said a faster horse, a better buggy. Not a single customer would have said a car, an automobile. Entrepreneurs create stuff and they teach us that we need it. Steve Jobs made this because he loved building beautiful things. Because he wanted to see the things that he imagined come into being and be used by people. He loved the idea of this. He went to work every day filled with excitement and joy because he got to create, he got to play, right, at creating stuff that was beautiful, effective. He was motivated. So Steve Jobs in the end built the iPhone for whom? For himself. Because he loved it and because he wanted to make a lot of money from it. But Steve Jobs built it for himself. Now I remember the first iPhone I bought. It was 2008. The US economy was spiraling into recession. And I, good student of Keynes, the economist, I wanted to help stimulate the US economy. So I went and bought an iPhone because I knew that if I bought an iPhone, Keynes taught that consumption drives the economy, so I wanted to consume. Right? I know that's why you go shopping, because you care about your fellow man, because you want to make sure people have jobs. Some of you are not smiling. You look like you're taking this too seriously. I mean, nobody goes shopping because of that. Why do you go shopping? Yeah, well, for yourself, because you want stuff, because you want to make your life better. I went and bought an iPhone because I thought it would be cool. It would make me more productive. It would be something fun to do, right? Turned into a lot more than I thought it was, but that's why I bought it, right? So we all go into the marketplace as producers and consumers. We go into the marketplace for what purpose? To pursue what? Exchange for what? What? Happiness is removed, immediate. What are we doing? We're pursuing what? Yeah, I know you can't, it's not obvious, which is surprising, right? We're pursuing our self-interest. We're going into the marketplace because I want to get stuff that I think will make my life better, that I think will lead to my happiness. Maybe it will, maybe it won't, but I think it will. And I'm selling stuff in the marketplace because I'm trying to make money, because I want to feed my family, and I want to invest, and I want to buy beautiful things, and I want to improve my life in order to be happy. The marketplace is a place in which we go to pursue our own self-interest. The marketplace is a place that doesn't care about the social well-being, doesn't care about, the common good. It doesn't care about all these things. It cares about individuals pursuing their self-interest. Adam Smith understood this, right? In the Wealth of Nations, you write, the baker doesn't bake the bread for you. He doesn't know you, doesn't really care that much about you. He loves baking bread, and he's trying to earn his living. He's trying to feed his family. He's doing it for self-interested reason, and you don't buy the bread, with all due respect, in order so the baker can feed his family. You're buying the bread so you can eat it, because you need it for you. So marketplaces are places in which we go in order to pursue our self-interest. Everything about capitalism is about self-interest. People pursuing their self-interest. Indeed, why do we want freedom? We want freedom so that we can pursue our self-interest based on our values, based on what we believe will lead to our own individual happiness. So let me ask you, what did your mother teach you about being self-interested? Or let's use a little bit of a harsher word. Self-interest is too nice of a word. What did your mother teach you about being selfish? Which is the same as self-interest, just has a little bit of negative social connotation, but it's all the same, right? It's about pursuing your self-interest. Your mother taught you it was good, right? You should always pursue your self-interest? No. My mother taught me, think of others first. Think of yourself last. She didn't mean it. No mother means it. She wanted me to be successful. And to be successful, you have to think about yourself. But our whole moral code, our whole ethical code is about thinking of first, never thinking about yourself. Indeed, to be virtuous is to be selfless. Not think about the self at all. In ordinary terms, when you listen to news, you listen to things, if anybody has ever talked about positively, oh, they did it for selfless reasons. It's down here. And that means that capitalism is always down here. Because it's all about being self-interested. Now, interestingly enough, it's not about exploiting other people. It's not about other people being worse off, because what is the nature of trade, which is the essence of capitalism, right? We pursue our self-interest through trade. And trade is what? It's mutually beneficial. It's win-win. If I buy an iPhone for $1,000, why am I giving up $1,000 for an iPhone? Because I believe I'll be better off with an iPhone than with $1,000. I win. Does that mean Apple lost? No, their profit margins are huge. They made a profit, and I made a profit. My profit happens to be, in economics terms, consumer surplus, right? How much this is worth to me more than the $1,000 I spent on it. Anybody have any idea how much this is worth to me more than $1,000? How much more? A lot. Like this is like tens of thousands of dollars. Can't really put a number on it. It's so valuable to me. Don't tell Apple. I don't want them to raise my price. I mean, I couldn't have imagined being able to video conference with my kids from anywhere in the world, tell them bedtime story by video at a marginal cost of $0. Can't imagine. I remember vinyl records. I know they're hot again, but now you have options. My day, all you had was vinyl records. Now I can access every piece of music ever recorded and produced on this thing at a marginal cost of $0. And you could go on and on, and I found this place using maps, which I used to have to open up paper maps. Some of you might remember, a few of you. Disaster, particularly in this weather, having to open a map, watch and drive and all of that, now trivial. It's unbelievable what this is valuable to me, right? So I want, Apple won. So pursuing your self-interest, I was pursuing my self-interest in buying it, Apple was pursuing their self-interest in selling it. We both won. And yet self-interest is considered beneath contempt. We have a moral code that really has elevated selflessness, which means self-sacrifice, which means giving up self. That is the most moral thing. And that doesn't happen in capitalism. Not as part of the system. Indeed, self-interest is what is incentivized and motivated and everything. And it's not about how many people you help, right? We have this idea that, no, we want this nice system where the focus morally is on other people to help other people. Who helps people the most? Who has benefited mankind the most? By helping, who's raised people out of poverty the most? Capitalists, businessmen, financiers. That's what's elevated capitalism. That's what elevated the poor. How do the poor become middle class? By work. Who provides the work? Entrepreneurs, businessmen. Who provides the goods that raise our standard of living? Businessmen. It's business, it's exchange, it's mutual, free exchange. It's capitalism that has elevated our lives materially. So why doesn't capitalism get credit for all the benefit it does others? Which is how Adam Smith pursued it. Adam Smith thought about it. He thought, yes, we're all kind of selfish as individuals, and that's bad. But it turns out this magic, call it the invisible hand, that turns all our selfish activities into a social good. But the reality is nobody believes that, right? So you add up a bunch of vices, like everybody's doing these vices, and you add them up and you get something good. That doesn't make any sense. So capitalism is immoral. I'll give you another example, hopefully to illustrate that. It's an example I've been using for years. I know maybe it's a little dated because people's perception of this guy is a little dated, but let's forget about all the conspiracy theories and all the stories, at least since COVID, about Bill Gates. Remember, Bill Gates is the founder of Microsoft. Bill Gates founded Microsoft, right? Did he help other people? Did he help people? Yeah, pretty much every person on the planet. Literally every person on the planet. Even somebody like me who only uses Apple products has benefited from the existence of Microsoft. Microsoft changed the world. It changed every aspect of our world. By bringing a PC to every desk, it changed the way we do everything we do. Even the aid that we provide the poorest people in Africa who've never seen a computer gets to them because of the ability of to do supply chain through a computer, through a Microsoft product. So Bill Gates has basically made the lives of almost everybody on planet Earth better by founding, running Microsoft, and becoming the richest man in the world. And what do we think about him? Hate his guts. He's rich, we don't like him. Now, when does Bill Gates become somewhat likable? Not too much, but somewhat likable. When he leaves Microsoft, he takes a bunch of his money and puts it into a foundation and starts giving it away. Then he's okay. We don't love him yet. We'll get to why in a minute, but he's okay. So, in other words, let's get this right? To build something, to create something, to employ people, to change the world, to trade with people in mutual beneficial trade with billions of people around the world, that morally, But to give the money away, that's good. What's the difference? The fundamental difference is that when he was in business, he was benefiting. And when he's a philanthropist, he's not benefiting. So the fact that he didn't benefit changes whether an action is good or bad. It's not about helping other people. Business helps more people than philanthropy every single day. But philanthropy is good because the person who's helping is not benefiting. This is why socialism is so attractive. Socialism distributes wealth. Socialism is about giving people stuff. And the person who gives doesn't make any money off of giving it. In socialism, you don't trade. So you don't gain. It's all about redistribution. Everybody's poor, really poor, but so be it. That's a sacrifice you have to make in order to be moral. Why isn't Bill Gates loved? Why can't we make Bill Gates a saint? What's the problem even now that he's doing philanthropy? There's some problem with Bill Gates even when he just does philanthropy and he's not running a business anymore. What prevents him from being a saint? He's still super rich. That's right. He's got a lot of money. And not only does he have a lot of money, he's got a big house. He has a room in his house. The whole room is a trampoline. I think that's so cool. I wish I had a room that was a trampoline, particularly when I was younger. Maybe not so much today. I'm not sure my back could take it. But how can somebody who has a trampoline room be moral? There's no way. Not according to my mother's system of morality. Not according to our preachers and our philosophers' system of morality. There's no way. He's rich, and he's also having fun. That's a no-no, big no-no. He seems to enjoy giving the money away. He seems to enjoy his investments. You're not supposed to enjoy doing moral things. You ever gone to a museum and seen paintings of saints? They're not enjoying themselves. They usually got arrows sticking inside of them and suffering some horrible death somewhere by torture. We have a morality that says that suffering, sacrifice, giving stuff up, self-denial, those are virtuous and moral. And that making something, producing, getting rich, benefiting your own life, having fun, immoral. That's bad. Not compatible with capitalism. Capitalism is about the eating, making, not about the suffering. So I contend that the problem is the reason we're moving away from capitalism is not because of any failing of capitalism. Capitalism produces the goods. The problem is that we have a morality that's inconsistent with it. And you could say, well, I've got an economic system and a morality that are inconsistent. I have to give up on one of them. Most people give up on the capitalism and they keep their moral system. Because morality trumps economics every single time. We'd rather be good than rich. We'd rather be good than pretty much anything else. Ayn Rand argued that what we should really be doing is questioning our moral system. That our morality is probably wrong. Our morality is probably off. She asks a simple question. You say we should be living for others, that other people are more important than me. And Ayn Rand asks, why? Really simple question. Why? I am me. Shouldn't I be the most important thing to me? Isn't my life the standard for everything that I do? Why should I live for other people? And then they live for other people, and then they live for other people. How does that end? Capitalism has shown us that if I live for myself and I pursue my self-interest, and I pursue my self-interest through mutual trade, if I pursue my self-interest through win-win transactions, I'm better off. I'm much better off. Materially, but I would argue also spiritually and in every sense, and so is everybody else. Isn't a win-win society, isn't a win-win relationship-based society better than a sacrificial one in which one party necessarily loses, which is a lose-win relationship? I don't know how many lose-win relationships you've ever been in, but lose relationship always turn into lose-lose relationship. Why don't we just emphasize the win-win? Why isn't that the basis of social interaction? Not the sacrifice, not the selflessness, but the opposite, the self-interest. So instead of being selfless as being virtuous, maybe selflessness is a vice, and maybe self-interest is the virtue. Maybe it's all upside down. And Rand argues that it is.